and socialites loudly applauded a slight Vienna-born professor of physics who has gone beyond the ambitions of any other mathematician. The next day, the Irish Times carried an article on the living cell and the atom, which began by describing Schrödinger's aim to account for events within a living cell by using chemistry and physics alone. The lecture was so popular that he had to repeat the entire series on the following Mondays. Schrödinger converted his lectures into a small book that was published the following year, 2 years before my own birth. What is Life has gone on to influence generations of biologists. 50 years after he had delivered these remarkable talks, Michael P. Murphy and Luke A.J. O'Neill of Trinity celebrated the anniversary by inviting outstanding scientists from a range of disciplines, a prestigious guest list that included Jared Diamond, Stephen Jay Gould, Stuart Kauffman, John Maynard Smith, Roger Penrose, Louis Wolpert, and the Nobel laureates Christian de Duve and Manfred Eigen, to predict what the next half-century might hold. I have read What is Life on at least 5 different occasions, and each time, depending on the stage of my career, its message has taken on different meanings along with new salience and significance. The reason that Schrödinger's slim volume has proved so influential is that, at its heart, it is simple. It confronted the central problems of biology, heredity, and how organisms harness energy to maintain order from a bold new perspective. With clarity and concision, he argued that life had to obey the laws of physics and, as a corollary, that one could use the laws of physics to make important deductions about the nature of life. Schrödinger observed that chromosomes must contain some kind of code script determining the entire pattern of the individual's future development. He deduced that the code script had to contain a well-ordered association of atoms endowed with sufficient resistivity to keep its order permanently, and explained how the number of atoms in an aperiodic crystal could carry sufficient information for heredity. He used the term crystal to suggest stability and characterized it as aperiodic, which, unlike a periodic repeating pattern, which, explained the Irish Times, is like a sheet of ordinary wallpaper when compared with an elaborate tapestry, could have a high information content. Schrödinger argued that this crystal did not have to be extremely complex to hold a vast number of permutations and could be as basic as a binary code, such as Morse code. To my knowledge, this is the first mention of the fact that the genetic code could be as simple as a binary code. One of the most remarkable properties of life is this ability to create order, to hone a complex and ordered body from the chemical mayhem of our surroundings. At first sight, this capability seems to be a miracle that defies the gloomy second law of thermodynamics, which states that everything tends to slide from order toward disorder. But this law only applies to a closed system, like a sealed test tube, while living things are open, or are a small part of a larger closed system, being permeable to energy and mass in their surroundings. They expend large amounts of energy to create order and complexity in the form of cells. Schrödinger dedicated much of his lecture to the thermodynamics of life, a topic that has been relatively under-investigated compared with his insights into genetics and molecular biology. He described life's gift of concentrating a stream of order on itself and thus escaping the decay into atomic chaos, and of drinking orderliness from a suitable environment. He had worked out how an aperiodic solid had something to do with this creative feat. Within the code script lay the means to rearrange nearby chemicals so as to harness eddies in the great stream of entropy and to make them live in the form of a cell or body. Schrödinger's hypothesis would inspire a number of physicists and chemists to turn their attention to biology after they had become disenchanted with the contribution of their fields to the Manhattan Project, the vast effort to build the atomic bomb during the Second World War. At the time of Schrödinger's lecture, the scientific world believed that proteins and not DNA formed the basis of the genetic material. In 1944 came the first clear evidence that DNA was in fact the information carrier, not protein. Schrödinger's book motivated the American James Watson and Briton Francis Crick to seek that code script, which ultimately led them to DNA and to discover the most beautiful structure in all biology, the double helix, within whose turns lay the secrets of all inheritance. Each strand of the double helix is complementary